Yeah, coach, just how much progress in a challenge is it to replace just how much production you got from Drew Wiley and that no longer being a part of your position group?
That remains to be seen. You know, a young man like Eli Huggins has done a great job in the past, played a bunch last year, coming back. He's certainly counted on to pick up some of that production. Hard to replace Drew Wiley, to be honest with you. But getting someone in here like Tim Horn has been a blessing in so many ways. He's just kind of dived right in with the way we do things, and really has had quite a spring to go along with someone like Jalen Pickle, who's played a lot. But and then you have Robert Hance that is coming back with those guys, and yeah, it's hard to replace Drew Wiley, but those guys are going to have to step up to be able to do that.
Yeah, someone you mentioned is Robert Hentz. We saw him a little bit last year, of course, but it was probably a tricky year with COVID and everything to kind of have your first season at Kansas State. Do you expect maybe him to emerge even more now that that's kind of will be behind us sooner or later?
Yeah, he kind of doesn't have a choice, really. He absolutely needs to step up. He's done a nice job of really mastering the scheme a little bit more. But even more so than that, too, is that his play has been elevated. He's doing some really good things for us. Has had a nice spring, and we're certainly counting on him moving forward to be a part of the conversation.
What do you think was some of the main reasons why you guys were able to attract someone like Timmy Horn in the transfer portal? Because it didn't take him long to pick the Wildcats.
Yeah, well, the transfer portal, as you know, is very tricky. It's kind of like Forrest Gump a little bit. You don't know what you're going to get, and to get someone of this caliber from a group of five school is really, really amazing. And not only is he a prince of a guy, he's just a really, really good player. And no, it was, what we saw on tape, and what we saw on tape was a dynamic player. And for him to adapt into how we do things, the way we do things, has really been really, really cool to see. And not only that, but he's so, our players have kind of, gravitated to him. He has that kind of personality, and he's certainly a leader by his play, and he's made a lot of nice plays to where our guys have a lot of respect for him.
And finally, what's I guess one or two things that instantly come to your mind from what you've seen from your position group this spring that have you excited about what's to come this upcoming season?
Well, what's exciting is that, you have a guy like, to begin with, Eli Huggins, who is, in my opinion, has taken his game to another level. And you asked about Drew Wiley. Drew Wiley was in the similar situation a year ago now, because he had been in a backup role in 2019. And for him to step up his game, in my opinion, Eli Huggins has done that heading into the last couple of practices here. Certainly Jalen Pickle has done the same thing. He's a guy that, we are counting on to be in the conversation, in the mix. His playmaking has really taken another level. And then you got Robert Hance. We talked about Timothy Horn. We're talking about Tyrone Taleni, who's had a really, really good spring.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Fitz.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
For defensive tackles, does it take a little while to marry the kind of physical strength you got to have for that spot and the technique and all that? I mean, we're seeing some guys that develop right on the cusp of the edge of their career. Is it just kind of a normal process?
Yeah, well, it's hard to do the technique if you're not strong. And so, you got to have, you know, strength all the way around, your legs, your arms, your ability to be able to lock people out. Uh, but in terms of their development, it's hard to develop. You can have a young man who's maybe not there yet physically struggle with the technique because he just doesn't have the strength to be able to execute the fundamentals. But without question, you have to have the strength to be able to execute the fundamentals, and I just think we're at a good place with the D tackles. Those guys are really working very hard. With Coach True coming in here in the last month or so, it's our guys are really, really doing a nice job in the weight room. But yeah, I would say that it's hard, very hard for anybody, whether it's here or anywhere else, or any of the other places I've had I've coached, for a young man to truly play the way he wants to without the strength development.
And you know this better than anyone, but D tackle's really difficult to recruit for a couple reasons. Everyone needs them, and it is hard to identify where those kids will end up physically. How challenging has it been to kind of reload your position?
It's always challenging. It's a challenging year in. And it's not just here, it's been certainly in other places, because at the end of the day, defensive tackles are a special breed. They're not, they have to have the mental makeup, certainly, but they have to be explosive players that are big athletes. And there's a high demand and the high demand for them, and the availability is not very. So in many ways, you have to kind of look into the crystal ball, if you will, to kind of see if those skills and those abilities are there, because you have to have an explosive, twitchy athlete, because if not, those things are hard to develop. Those are things that they have to come with, and then you can look down the road and say, hey, this young man, we can develop him in the weight room. But there are certainly some things explosive, whether it's hands, your feet, an explosive body, other things that come to mind is, you got to have face courage. You got to play with your face. And that's easy to say, but not everybody can do. And so the supply is very low and the demand is very high. And I always say that, D tackles are absolutely a special breed. They're a different breed altogether.
When you recruit, do you find yourself maybe looking towards other sports? Wrestling certainly comes to mind because of the ability to use your hands, but track, the throwers, their ability to explode. Do you find yourself looking for those?
Yeah, I love wrestlers. Coach a lot of wrestlers who did football too. You try to find those explosive movements. For instance, like you take basketball, for instance, a young man that can explode vertically. Well, that tells me he's explosive. You mentioned track athletes, people that can go from low to out, that can explode out or explode up. Those are the kinds of guys you look for, because, if they can generate power from the ground, those are the things you look for. Wrestlers, they're a lot like, they're very similar to D tackles. They're just a different breed. You got to be able to enjoy mixing things up with people, and wrestlers have that.